Once again, welcome to Insights with Dr. Val-Addo. My name is Dr. J. Val-Addo, and today's presentation is the 12th in a series. And in our previous presentation, we look at the African nature and personality and why we need to be proud. Africans need to be proud of their nature and their personality. And I've been doing this series in response to the European philosophers who wrote demeaning statements about Africans living south of the Sahara after these historical accounts have been written. They came to meet this historical account, or let me say it in another way. These historical accounts were there, but they chose to overlook it, and then they wrote some demeaning and derogatory statements about Africa and Africans living south of the Sahara. So this is my response. This is the research that I've done in response to these people, because that's how people have taken most of us Africans. Now, today's presentation, we are moving from the nature and the personality, and we're going to the dignity of Africans, as described in the early sincere European historical accounts of the Guinea coast. Now, we're going to look at these Europeans who gave this account, and I describe them as trustworthy, sincere, truthful Europeans who actually were eyewitnesses in their dealings with the people. They were there. And so we want to look at the dignity of Africans. And by dignity, we mean being worthy of honor. Does the African deserve honor? Does the African have dignity? Even though these European philosophers of the 18th century really demean us as if the African doesn't have any dignity. But before they made these injurious statements about Africans, in actual fact, some of the Europeans who actually traveled to the Guinea coast, south of the Sahara, had described Africans in a way. And I want us to look at whether Africans at that time and now in our 21st century deserve dignity. Are we people of dignity? Are we worthy of honor or not? Now, the root of dignity is personality. Now, you cannot be a dignified person if you do not know who you are as a person. Your dignity depends on your personality. And personality, as we explain, is the quality of your thoughts, your feelings and actions, your inner character influencing or affecting your outside behavior. So before we talk about dignity of the African, we'll look at the African personality. So we have actually described the African personality in our previous presentation. So I'm going to continue with that. And so what was the African personality that will influence his dignity? Now, let's look at the manifestation of dignity. And I'm going to use the historical account written by the early Europeans around the 1700s up to the middle of 1700s. And in their writings, I discovered three things that describe the dignity of the African. And because of time, I'm just going to limit myself to these three manifestations of dignity. Number one is integrity, honesty, and trustworthiness. Now, these are descriptions of a person who has dignity or is dignified. Any person who has integrity, honesty, and trustworthiness. When we talk about integrity, it means the person is whole. The person is honest. He is not having personality defects. He is nice here, but he is rude somewhere. So that is what we mean by integrity. That person is whole, that person is sound, that person is honest. So the first manifestation of dignity is integrity, which has so many descriptions. And then honesty is one, and trustworthiness. That means, can we trust the person? Is the person honest? Is the person sound? These are manifestations of dignity. Now, Africans on the Guinea coast were also people of integrity. They were people of honesty, or they were honest people, and they were trustworthy people. Now, the Europeans cited the natives of Benin as an example. Now, one of their travelers and writers called Bosman, he was a Dutch. He states, and I want to quote, that his countrymen, quote, were often obliged to trust them, that is the people of Benin, to trust them by lending them goods till they returned the following year, because they were sure to be paid honestly their whole debts, unquote. I want to repeat that. Bosman, who was a Dutch, and he wrote about his countrymen, the Dutch people who were there. He said, quote, about the people of Benin. He said, quote, they were often obliged to trust them, that is, trust the people of Benin, by lending them goods till they returned the following year, because they were sure to be paid honestly their whole debts. That means the people of Benin on the Guinea coast, they didn't vanish, they didn't vamoose. These people had given them goods, and they have gone back to the European country, the Dutch land, or they have gone back. And then when they returned a whole year, the people pay them back. So as they trade with them, they make sure they lend them goods, because they trusted the people that they will return. Here we see honesty, and we see creditworthiness. Creditworthiness, honesty. And these are the qualities of dignity which these people living south of the Sahara possessed and have maintained over the years. Now, if you go to Africa and you are trading, you are involved in petty trading, people lend goods to people, because sometimes the credit is not there, the capital is not there. So they lend it to them, and then during the following market day, these people go and sell and bring back their money. They don't vanish in the thin air. They come back. This is honesty. This is creditworthiness. In Africa, we don't have the credit score. We don't maintain the FICA or the credit score, but the people are creditworthy themselves. And they have possessed and maintained it over the years. So honesty and creditworthiness provide good trading partnership. It gives you good trading partners, or it provides economic opportunities to generate more income and build wealth, even if you don't have a capital. So Africa never dealt with capitalism. Africa dealt with honesty in trading, creditworthiness in trading, and people trusted them. And this goes to explain the personality and the nature of the African. Because an African will never take your goods, will never take the money that you've lent to them. Most Africans will stay true to being credit worthy, to be honest. And this constitutes what we call integrity, soundness of human being, soundness of our inner being, soundness of character, soundness of behavior. So the inner nature, or the nature that Africans were born with, and then the personality from their inner being, showing or indicating their thoughts and their feelings, when expressed out into their actions, show that these people are people of integrity. They are sound and they are honest. So this is the first dignity, the qualities of dignity the African possesses. Then number two is Africans are naturally industrious or hardworking. And they are manifestation, or is a manifestation that leads to dignity. When anybody is naturally industrious or hardworking and is not a lazy person, that person maintains dignity. That person maintains honor. That person maintains respect. And Africans on the Guinea Coast were naturally industrious. They were hardworking. And anybody who respects himself and have the honor will always be hardworking. This is what the historic account states, that they found, the people in the Guinea Coast found constant employment. The men in agriculture and the women in spinning and weaving cotton. So the men were hardworking, they were involved in agriculture, and the women were also involved in spinning and weaving cotton. Now let's go to the Ivory Coast. The Ivory Coast, in the Ivory Coast, the record or the historical account says that the natives made cotton cloth and sold them. Before the white man came, before the European, before the Caucasian stepped into the Guinea Coast, these people were making cotton cloth and they were selling them. Some people think that when you go to Africa, the people are naked. They don't have anything. After all, when God or the Creator created Adam and Eve and they fell, God clothed them with fig leaves. That was the clothing that God manufactured for them. Now, every group of people who are developing and advancing have a way of improving upon the quality of their lives. And the Ivory Coast people were making cotton cloths. And these European traders or European explorers, when they went there, they saw them making these cotton cloths and they were selling them already. They didn't teach them to make cloth. When the European countries were making cloth printing machines, we, the Africans, were making cotton cloths and were selling them. In the account, the Europeans described Ivory Coast as a rich country because they were people that were making cloth and they were selling them. Now, when you go to the inner part of the Gold Coast, from Ivory Coast you go to the Gold Coast, the inner part, the Ashantis were making beautiful kente cloth, beautiful, of different colors, and they were selling them. How did they do it? Both in Ivory Coast and in the Gold Coast. They were spinning and making cloth in the indigenous way. You go there, they discovered a kind of wood that they put together and they manufactured it, and they were spinning this cotton and they were making cloth, both in the Ivory Coast and in the Gold Coast. And that was part of African development. Africans had developed before even the Europeans came in their own way. At that point in history, in their own way, they were industrialized. So there was industrialization. So when the European philosophers later came back to write that Africans had no history and they had no development to show, they were only living in their vicinity and writing these things which could not be true. So at that point in history, before these European philosophers whom they hailed so much, like Hume and Hegel and Herbert Spencer, these people were manufacturing clothes in our indigenous way. So, and then apart from the men in agriculture and the women in the weaving of cotton and selling them as clothes, some men in the Guinea Coast were fishermen, or they were fishers. And their women were fish smokers, and they sold, and they were involved in petty trading. And the account states that some might have been poor, but there were no beggars found amongst them. This is the historical account, that when you go to the coast in general, some might have been poor, but there were no beggars found among them. Now, this is an indication that the people maintain dignity. When you are a worker, when you are working hard, you are industrious. And when you have the sense of integrity, and that shows that you are people of dignity. Now, to be lazy and a beggar or asking for monetary favors to meet personal needs erodes your human dignity. There are some people, of course, we have people in Africa now that will want to be lazy, they want quick money, and they beg people. When you beg, you lose your human dignity. When you are hardworking and you are not lazy and you maintain integrity, you maintain dignity. So being hardworking or industrious leads to self-sufficiency. It leads to self-reliance, and it leads to a dignity in life. Your life is dignified. You are able to provide for yourself. You don't depend on people just to exist. Somebody doesn't have to work for you to give you money to eat or to buy food. You also work. Of course, when times of difficulty comes and people know that you are a person of dignity, they will be able to come in to support. But not when you make your life a beggar and you are not working and you don't have integrity. Number 3 of the manifestation of dignity is the ability to carry oneself well with respect when you relate to other people. It is a manifestation of dignity. And we know from the historical account that Africans on the Guinea Coast, south of the Sahara, were people who were able to carry themselves well with respect. They maintained respect in relating to the Europeans, and they maintained their dignity. In our previous presentation, we saw when the Europeans, some of the Europeans were causing injury to the people of Ivory Coast. They maintained their dignity. There was a way they shunned them. They withdrew. They didn't injure them back, because Africans are not wicked of injuring people, because they have a very good and refined personality. So the ability to carry yourself well with respect, being courteous in your relationship with others, is a manifestation of dignity. Now, I want to end here because of time. We don't want to, say so much. So today we'll talk about the dignity of the African. And this is what I want to tell Africans. You must, everyone, whether you are European, wherever you are, know who Africans are generally. They are people of dignity. They are people that have honest and trustworthy life. They are hardworking and they are respectful of others. If you are an African, be a proud African with true African dignity. Preserve the African dignity and honesty and sense of hard work. Make the Creator and Africa proud with the African dignity. In our next presentation, we will look at how then shall we live as Africans? How then shall we live? Are we missing these virtues? Are we missing these qualities of life that the Europeans, when they came, they wrote about them? Times may change, but our nature, our personality doesn't change. So our dignity must go higher, not lower. We mustn't be begging people. And I like the president of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, when he ascended to be the president of Ghana, he said that Ghana without aid, Africa without aid. Look, when you are always dependent on the Western world for aid, you lose your dignity. They dictate to you. And so I respect him because he's schooled in Britain and he understands that you don't always have to depend on aid. Yeah, if you want to help me, it's up to you to help me. But I don't have to be begging you for substance to live my life. And so I must be hardworking. My citizens must be hardworking. There should be no laziness. And we must respect ourselves. Because if you lose your respect, if you lose your sense of hard work and industry, if you lose your integrity, your honesty, and your trustworthiness, then you are no longer a person of dignity. Let's maintain our African dignity. Next presentation will be, how then shall we live? We will take lessons from how the people of the coastlands of Western and Central Africa lived when these historical accounts were written, and we will learn from it, and we will improve our life, maintain our dignity, live very well as Africans. If this presentation has been a blessing, we want you to give us a thumb up, and we want you to continue to receive insights with Dr. Val-Addo. And so if you want it, please click the subscribe button and also click the share symbol to send it to your relatives and friends. And if you have any comment, we want you to write it to tell us how you are getting with these presentations, how you are getting on with this presentation. Once again, we want to remind you that all this is in a book that I have written, and the title of the book is The Rise of Africans and African Descent to Reign in Life. How we can rise up again to reign in this life. Volume 1. In the first place, redeeming Africa. We must redeem Africa. We must redeem Africans. We must redeem African descent. And I'm presenting issues that when you read them, you will know how Africa must be redeemed first before we can rise up to reign in this life. God bless.
He is my everything.